Welcome, everyone. We're going to ask if you would rise as our graduates walk in. It is with great pleasure and joy that I welcome you to the Middle Creek Career Academy's commencement. Class of 2017, you've worked hard and with great diligence, producing projects and artifacts that are a cut above the rest. You deserve to hold a sense of keen pride in the fact that you are not only graduates, but you've acquired an impeccable skill set through the make it happen disposition of Mr. Petit, the focus because I always have a camera in my hand, Mr. Maldonado, the no nonsense, get your work done, Mrs. Council, the so you want to be an engineer, Mr. Sheddick, and finally, the let's hear it for the females in engineering cheers of Miss McGee. The wonderful teachers, including our science and English teachers, along with your parents, friends, and family, celebrate your accomplishments. I, along with our STEM coordinator, also applaud you for a job well done. Oh, by the way, thank you for completing those internships. Now we'll have Mr. Maldonado.
All right. I want to begin by thanking the class of 2017 for allowing me to speak. It's truly an honor to be in front of you today. I've been looking forward to speaking to you for quite some time, and I can't wait to introduce this year's student speaker. But before I do, I'd like to thank some of my colleagues that are here tonight. Preston Williams, Wes Petty, Nate Harris, Christina Council. Will you guys please stand up? It is a pleasure to work with all of you. You see, some people get up each day and they dread going to work, but not me, because I get to work with these guys. And they're some of the most talented people you'll ever meet. They're dedicated, they stay long hours, they make many sacrifices for the students. And guys, graduates, they care about you more than you could ever know. I love you guys, and thank you. Please give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank the faculty and staff of Middle Creek High School that's in attendance. Ms. Williams, the assistant principal of Middle Creek High School, is here tonight. Members of Wake County Public School System, CTE Central Services staff, the many members of our Digital Media Business Alliance, and of course you, the parents and guardians of these fine graduates. Thank you for coming today and being involved in the lives of these young people. Okay, guys. I was trying to come up with a theme for tonight. And, you know, what do I say that you haven't already heard? You know what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to say things like, you can do anything you put your mind to. Stay focused. You can make anything happen. The world's at your feet. Just reach out and grab it. And all of that is true. You can do anything that you want. You make this life what you want it to be. If you want to be rich and famous, grab your cell phone and make a YouTube blog. Start a business. Invent something amazing. Work hard and just simply make it happen. But I didn't want to do a normal speech. So I decided to offer you something. Us. I'm pretty sure these fine teachers up here feel the same way that I do. And so this is what I'm offering. I will always be your teacher. We're here for you no matter what. You go away to college and run into a problem, contact us. We're here for you. You have a question about the latest release of Photoshop, can't get it to do something you wanted to do, ask away. Just because you're no longer a student of the Wake County Public School System doesn't mean that you're not our student anymore. Teachers care about their students. It doesn't end the moment that you walk out the door and the bell's rung, and you're like, bye. It doesn't end when you walk across the stage. So if you need help on that English paper in college, well, that's Mr. Williams. I can't help you with that. I'm sorry. But if you do have a problem with like formatting the SD card in your camera, I'm your guy. Okay? You're going out into the world to make your mark, and you're going to stumble at times. You're going to struggle with things, and that's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how the world works. Everything can't be easy. That's when you need to remember that there are lots of people that have a vested interest in making sure that you succeed. We've made it our life's work to help young people. And of course, you're thinking, yeah, they say that, but do they really want us to be emailing them once I'm gone? The answer is yeah. You see, we care about you. We want to know what you're up to. We want to know about the cool internship you just got, or the cool part-time job, or the cool full-time job that you got. You see, a few years ago, I had a former student. He was challenged by an apartment company he worked for to make a video. And each apartment complex owned by the company had to create a video that showcased the amenities that each complex had. Student contacted me, and he was like, you know, I need some help. It's been a while since I did some digital media. And I was like, sure. So he came over, and we made a Rocky-themed video, and he wound up winning the competition. And he told me he was so excited that he got to do some digital media again, because it had been a while since he had done so. And I've had students come back to need help with resumes, help with internships, a reference for a job. One student wanted to start a YouTube channel, and they needed pointers on what type of equipment they needed. You see, our tech talks, the one I did today, was my way of exposing you to the latest trends and influencers in the tech world. I wanted you to be exposed to the coolest new technology. So you're in college, and you're trying to figure out a cool new way to do a presentation. Contact me. I may know some new cool thing that's happening. I mean, that's how all of you learned how to use Adobe Spark. We were trying to do something other than PowerPoint, remember? Or maybe you want an idea for a different spin on a project. Maybe some technology you could use in that project. I mean, it couldn't help. I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? I mean, you wind up doing something really cool, showing off to the teacher. They think you're amazing. You might get a few points for that. Ladies and gentlemen, both groups of Academy students before you are extremely talented. They have so many accomplishments. The group in front of you have placed in the top 5 in the state in every competition they've competed in Skills USA the last 4 years. This year, out of 49 students we took, 36 placed. They've won t-shirt design competitions, and state and national video competitions. They've broadcasted sporting events, choral concerts, graduations. They've been asked by the school system to document community outreach events, promote school-to-career initiatives to local businesses. They're among the most impressive and influential in the school. It's been my extreme honor to have worked with them. I had a friend in college who had the nicest way of saying goodbye to people. And she would say, make wise decisions. When I began my teaching career, I thought, with all the difficulties our young people face each day, and they have a lot of difficulties that they face, maybe I should remind them to stop, to pause, and think twice. So each day as the bell rings for the end of class, I tell my students to have a good day and make wise decisions. I usually get a funny comment or a quick, yeah, okay. But you see, here's the really funny part. I know how marketing works. If you repeat something to people enough times, it becomes a part of them. A commercial, a slogan, a jingle, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Everybody knows that that's McDonald's. For some of you, I'm loving it popped in your head. If you say the words enough, if they hear it enough, make wise decisions. They'll remember it. My hope for you, the class of 2017, is to always make wise decisions. Stop and think, how will this choice help me reach my goals? How will this get me to where I want to be? So I leave you tonight, class of 2017, with those simple 3 words. Make wise decisions. If you do, you won't have anything to be ashamed of. You can go about your life knowing you did the right thing for the right reason. I love you guys, and I wish you the best. Now, my next job is to introduce our student speaker. And this person I met last year when I visited Mr. Petty's class. She was busy working on a bulletin board for Skills USA. I say working, but she was kind of leading the show and having a whole lot of fun at the same time. She always has a huge smile on her face. And if you wait long enough, you're going to hear a giggle or a very loud, boisterous laugh. And it was apparent right from the start that she was a natural leader. In fact, she served as vice president of our Skills USA chapter this year. She's a thoroughly interesting person. She's traveled all over the world. She's lived in China, in France, and in the United States. She speaks 4 languages and wants to learn a 5th. She has aspirations to work for the Central Intelligence Agency. And this fall, she's going to be attending NC State University. It has been a pleasure working with her this past year, and I want to thank her for all the work that she's done, because I genuinely don't know how we would have gotten all the stuff that we did this year without her help. Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage Caroline Suborn, this year's Digital Media Student Speaker.
Good evening. I have been a part of the Digital Media Academy for 2 years, and with these amazing teachers for 4. I was transferred to Middle Creek 2 weeks before freshman year started, so I'm sure you can understand the stress I went under getting ready for some of the most intimidating 4 years of my life. I was amongst the last students to be able to pick their classes, so I was sure I'd be stuck with the classes that no one wanted to take. When I went online and began choosing my classes with my mom, the hardest decisions were what electives I'd be taking. Naturally, I wanted to put down 3 gym classes or maybe foods, but my mom thought otherwise. I remember her suggesting technology, engineering, and design, and thinking, are you kidding me? I can't get stuck in the nerd class. Everyone will think I'm weird and I won't make any friends. But she told me to at least put it down as an alternative because my brother had majored in engineering and loved it. Deep down, I was hoping and praying that I wouldn't get TED. That first day of freshman year, I was given my schedule, and there it was, TED. I was dreading walking into the class and even went to student services to see if I could switch out of it. But then I met Miss Trevino, who I guess you can call Miss McGee now, that first day. I sat at the very front of the class and soon became what I guess you could call the teacher's pet. Before long, I loved being in class with Miss Trevino. Looking back, I am beyond thankful that I was placed in that nerd class, because TED is the sole reason I'm a part of this amazing program at Middle Creek. I walked into Mr. Petty's class sophomore year, excited and ready to learn everything there was about digital media. Little did I know I would officially meet Mr. Petty as a teacher. That first class was a little intimidating. There was a lot of excitement and yelling that I was definitely not expecting. That day, we jumped into using Photoshop and created a sandwich. Yep, you heard right, a sandwich. After taking Digital Media 1, I fell in love with it and applied for the academy. My junior year schedule included a somewhat intimidating year-long course with Mr. Petit, but I was ready to take on the challenge, and a challenge it was. Digital Media 2 started off great, and I was enjoying learning everything on a deeper level. However, in September, I got into a car accident and was deeply concussed. And my first thought was, what about digital media? I can't be on the computer. Mr. Petit is going to be so mad. But I would soon find out that mad was the last thing he would be. When I was finally cleared to be back on the computer and to start catching up on the many projects I had missed, I was in another car accident and was re-diagnosed with a concussion, this time lasting much longer. Again, I was dreading sharing the news with Mr. Petit. However, during my recovery, I acquired a seat next to him because all I could do was help him organize papers or clean the board. It was then I truly realized how much of an amazing teacher and mentor he was. I received endless support from Mr. Petit throughout one of the hardest times of my life. The support and encouragement he gave me to catch up, not only in digital media, but all my other classes, was constant, where he pushed me to be successful when all I wanted to do was give up. Later that year, I competed in Skills USA. I was able to team up with two of my closest friends and classmates, Peyton and Emma, where we competed in promotional bulletin board and made it to the state competition. We were extremely dedicated to this project and created what we believed to be an amazing project. No matter the, let's just say, slightly unfair outcome, I will always be proud of that project and of you guys. That first Skills USA trip was definitely one I will always remember, thanks to the amazing people by my side. There may have been tears shed, but the memories will always top the hardship that we faced. Next came senior year with Mr. Maldonado. Excited to start class with a new teacher, but not really knowing what to expect, we began digital media with an enthusiastic, salesperson. Maldo is constantly introducing us to new technology, like the newest, coolest VR system, or the Pixel phone that has to replace your iPhone, and talking passionately about new things that will be our future and could change our lives. While in tech advanced studies, you pretty much work independently, but Mr. Maldonado was always there with constant support to help you get through the times when you tried something new and had no idea what you were doing. Constantly joking with you and being silly, he kept class vibrant and fun, yet stayed serious when needed, to motivate you to do your best work. Maldo wants nothing but to see you succeed in what you pursue, and make sure you have all the tools and knowledge needed just to do just that, and if you don't, he happily helps you along the way. I believe that I speak for all of us when I say that we have received constant support from not just one of these amazing teachers, but all of them, even those we never had a class with. I would like to thank each of them for what they have done for me. Ms. Trevino, for introducing me to and pushing me to join the academy. Ms. De Silva, for not only being an amazing teacher, but someone I look to as a friend in times of trouble. Mr. Williams, for creating a learning place where our creativity was set free and we were all accepted as individuals. Mr. Harris, for being the fun guy, always cracking jokes, but still serious when you needed guidance. Ms. Council, for being the BFF I turn to when things get hard and no one really understands. Mr. Maldonado, for teaching with such passion about every single thing and introducing us to the vast world of technology and showing us our endless possibilities and granting us constant support. And lastly, Mr. Petit, for being the glue that has held me together these past years, not only as a teacher that taught me the basics, but a mentor that has inspired me to be the best I could be, and always being supportive no matter what I did. You have all changed my life in great ways, and will always hold a place in my heart. I would also like to thank all of you graduating by my side. Joining the Academy is not just joining an academic curriculum, but a family. We have grown together for 4 years, and you have all enriched my life in different ways. I learn something new every day, not from only our teachers, but from each one of you. Nothing in my life would be the same without these amazing group of classmates, but most importantly, friends in front of me. From the days where we all laugh together, sticking our name tags on Billy, or when we all sing the silly birthday song in Maldo's class for everyone's birthday, to when we learned how to copy and paste after 2 years of digital media, that is some of us, or when we stay at school until midnight creating a maze because we have to make the best DMA project there ever was, when we would slam our hands so hard on the bell just to get the winning point and extra credit, to the days when we would argue endlessly over the title of our academy project, or help each other practice presentations hundreds of times. All of these memories are ones we will cherish forever, and as we move forward with our lives, I want to remind all of you that you will always have a family here with the Academy, whether you need a helping hand or want to brag about that awesome job you just landed. I want nothing but to see all of you succeed, and I have no doubts that each one of you will thrive in whatever it is you pursue. I leave you all with a quote from Steve Jobs that I find can inspire all of us to be the best we can be as we were taught. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noises of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. We have all been held back by others' opinions, but let's go out there and show the world the many talents we have gained through this amazing program. And then maybe one day we can all be successful enough to buy some helicopters and go cross country. Failure is just motivation for the future. Overcoming it and moving forward will be your true success, and I'm eager to achieve that amongst all of you. And of course, remember, can't really isn't a word. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Sheddick. I am one of the technology, engineering, and design teachers here at Middle Creek. I've had the distinguished honor of working with these young adults for the past 3 years now, since my return here at Middle Creek. I've had the honor of watching you all grow and develop skills that are literally going to follow you for a lifetime. As I stand up here and I see all the others that are joining us, I'm sure that you all can remember being in their shoes, excited to finally be free, get out there and be able to do what you want. But it's also important to realize that with that freedom comes a lot of responsibility, and you all get the honor of having that additional responsibility now. I know that you all, as long as you use your resources and the skills that you've learned here at Middle Creek, you'll do great out there. Understand that you need to learn from your mistakes, and as long as you know that, you'll succeed. Also know that your future is coming up, and these are the years that you're going to be able to really establish a firm foundation for that future. Understand that that time is going to fly by incredibly fast. Before you know it, it'll be 15 years from now, and you'll be telling your significant other, hey, remember that song that came out recently? And they'll look at you and say, that was about 10 years ago. So I just want to thank you all for the experience, and want you all to know that we will, of course, always be here for you when you need it. I want to have you all join me in recognizing, of course, the 2017 graduates, and also introducing our Engineering Academy student representative whose determination and hard work has never ceased to amaze me, Brennan Harrison. Thank you very much.
Fellow Academy classmates, parents, and teachers. My name is Brenna Harrison, and I am graduating from the Engineering and Design Academy. I am happy and excited to say that I will be attending the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in the fall to study biomedical engineering. I am sure that my involvement in Middle Creek's Engineering and Design Academy has helped me achieve this goal. It all started freshman year when I took TED, Technology, Engineering, and Design, with Miss Trevino, who is now Miss McGee. I have always enjoyed taking things apart and building things. In TED, I was able to create anything from a prosthetic hand to a Rube Goldberg machine. Throughout my other academy classes, I have learned about all kinds of technologies in the different fields of engineering. I was able to unleash my creativity and use my new technical skills to build and destroy bridges, fly gliders, and even create a roller coaster. I learned how to troubleshoot, be resourceful, stay organized, and work effectively with others. I have also learned that when in doubt, the answer is probably 7 joules. That's an inside joke, parents. Last summer, Miss Ingram helped me obtain a summer internship at Duke University in their biomedical engineering department. I shadowed biomedical engineers and graduate students, performing experiments on transferring DNA efficiently and effectively. Experiencing the daily life in a professional lab environment, I witnessed incredibly important cancer research in action. After this remarkable experience, I decided I would like to continue learning about biomedical engineering in college. During my senior year, I also had the opportunity to participate in Skills USA and an engineering, technology, and design competition. My team designed a heads-up display for automobiles and placed second in the competition. We had a great experience and learned the importance of teamwork, project management, perseverance, and discipline. From my experience in Middle Creek's Engineering and Design Academy, I have learned to be creative, challenge my own ideas, think globally, and be innovative. These skills will help me in college and throughout life by empowering me to engage, participate, and share my talents with others. There are also a number of teachers in the Design Academy that have really made this a successful program for me. For me, it started in my first class in the Engineering Academy with Miss McGee. Miss McGee is not only a great teacher, but also a great role model. There was also Mr. Westbrook. He has since retired from Middle Creek, but he really made his classes appealing and not so intimidating. Then there is Mr. Sheddick, who always inspired us to dig deeper when working on our projects. I would also like to thank Miss Ingram for organizing our field trips and hooking us up with internships. Special thanks to Miss Council, too. I didn't have the opportunity to have her as a teacher, but I know she's doing great things for the Academy and Skills USA. I would also like to thank my classmates for the wonderful experience over the past 4 years at Middle Creek. Best of luck to my fellow Academy graduates and all of your future plans. You guys will all do great things, I know it. Remember, as Dr. Seuss wrote, you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
To acknowledge, we have a very strong advisory board for both of our academies, and we are eternally grateful for the support they have given. We wanted to acknowledge one tonight. He was not able to be here, but his name is Chris Clinton, and he represents Blackbaud, and they have made major contributions to our Digital Media Academy. So we just wanted to acknowledge what he has done, even though he is not able to be here. And we are going to transition because we have a special presentation that will be given by our CDC, Ms. Sharon Smith.
My great privilege to serve as National Technical Honor Society advisor. And so I've come to know several of these students. My role at Middle Creek High School is the Career Development Coordinator, so I work with all the students of the high school. But this year, we have a recipient of the John H. Petit Scholarship. National Technical Honor Society honors the achievements of top CTE students. And I will say now that because they are in National Technical Honor Society, this award could have gone to any of these students. They are very highly qualified. It provides scholarship to encourage the pursuit of higher education and cultivates excellence in today's competitive, skilled workforce. For over 30 years, NTHS has been the acknowledged leader in the recognition of outstanding student achievement in career and technical education. The John H. Petit Scholarship, named in honor and memory of the co-founder of the society, is awarded annually to the NTHS members who consistently exemplify the 7 character attributes of the National Technical Honor Society: skill, honesty, service, responsibility, scholarship, citizenship, and leadership. We are pleased to award a $1,000 John H. Petit Scholarship to Matthew Cleveland. Matthew, will you come forward, please?
It gives me great honor to present to you our keynote speaker for the evening. He comes to us from Loud Design. He is the president and creative designer, Mr. Michael Loud.
Not as good of a speaker as these students are, so I have slides to help me. So I'm going to do this from down here. So thanks again for the honor of being able to speak today, and congratulations to the class of 2017. It wasn't too long ago that I was in your shoes, and to remind you that I'm closer to your age than your parents' age. I left my shirt untucked, but I did put on a jacket because my mother would have something to say about that, I think. I was really honored to be asked to do this for the second time, which means that I didn't do too poorly the first time, which is good, because I was wondering. It's validation for me, so I appreciate it. So again, my name is Michael Loud. I'm the president and creative director at Loud Design. We're a design firm in Raleigh that does design work for small companies, medium-sized venture-backed companies, and big Fortune 50s brands that you may even be carrying around in your pocket. We do everything from kids' toys to military equipment to brand development and logo design. So it's a really interesting career. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do and then make a couple of suggestions. So I'm also not old enough to be called sir by any of you all, which maybe makes me the right age to say something you might absorb. I also went to NC State right here in Raleigh twice, so if you have any questions about what that's like, if any of you are headed there, catch me after for sure. So I've had a really amazing experience starting a business from the ground up and growing it into something that turned out to be larger than I could have imagined from the beginning. Instead of employees, today I have teams of them who are doing the most fun work they've ever done in their lives and creating millions of dollars, which is something that blows my mind every day that I walk into work. So I'll show you a little bit about what I do for a living, but as you're about to graduate, I'd also like to share a few things that I wish that I had heard earlier. So if you're wondering if I had slides, I do. Here they are. So it is possible to create a career out of creativity, out of art, out of breaking things on purpose, which is something that we do a lot of, out of fun. And it's been a really fun thing to watch that turn into not having to get a real job, which has been a blast. So coming out of high school, I had 2, maybe 3 main interests. I love to draw. I was really into cars and probably into girls. So I've always loved art, but I wasn't sure about the idea of being your traditional like starving artist stereotype. And I think my parents were a little bit uneasy about how much time I was spending, tracing Disney animations and stuff over the TV when I was little and not paying quite as much attention in school as I probably should have. But my dad has always been known as what you call a gearhead, and that's kind of a contagious thing. I grew up in a garage working on cars along with him, and while my other friends were getting their first car, he said, "Son, here is a box of parts for you." So I got to build mine, which was really I think at the time I was like, you got to be kidding me. And looking back, I still have it, drive it every day. So this was me in high school. So like I said, my interest being cars and drawing, and this is kind of where the drawing part comes in. So I'd spend hours in class doodling, as I'm sure a lot of you have, instead of listening to every spoken word. But one day, instead of paying attention, I'm sitting there drawing, and I think it was my 4th grade teacher walks in and she slaps a book down on my desk, I think half to scare me out of what I was doing, and then half because she was assigning a book report that I hadn't been listening about. And she said, everybody else in this room can choose whatever book they want to do, but you have to do this one. And I'm like, okay, that seems a little unfair, don't you think? She's like, I don't want to hear it. This is your book. So I didn't know anything about Bill Pete, who he was, or anything about this book, but there's a bunch of cartoons all over the front, so I liked that part. And after I started reading this, I realized that Bill Pete was the head cartoonist for Disney. And if you've seen any of their classic movies, he was the one who designed all the characters that went into these things. The one who decided, well, here's what Dumbo's going to look like. Here's what Snow White looks like. Here's what the dwarves look like, all that stuff. So he was, if you're familiar with John Lasseter, he's sort of like the Bill Pete of today. So later I got this kick out of being able to go to the Art Institute of Chicago and stand next to his original colored pencil drawing of the cover of his book many, many years after I did this book report. So my high school art class was not something I enjoyed at all. I loved art, but I did not, my teacher and I didn't quite see eye to eye, and it was something where it kind of made me wonder which direction I was going to head. So when I applied to college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do for sure, but I was certain that it would be a waste not to pursue this thing I had worked so hard to develop. So, and here's the thing about college. So as you get older, I think in a lot of ways you're really expected to get less creative. And you'll notice as you go through school that your desk seems to shrink. You start off with this big creative table, crayons, big rolls of paper in elementary school. And somehow middle school, that becomes a little more space efficient. There's books that need to be there. High school is like maybe this hard-mounted thing for your right or left hand. And by the time you get to college, I'll pull out my phone and write on it because it's bigger than the desk. And I decided that, well, if this is the progression through college, when I got my first job, my desk would probably look like that. So I better do something about it. So coming out of design school at State, which is a whole chapter I don't want to touch on for too long, but I was determined not to be the starving artist. So I wisely decided that I would start my own business in the worst economic climate since World War II. I finished undergrad in 2008, and if any of you owned a house around that time or owed money on a house, you'll kind of remember that time period. And if any of you were applying for a job, you'll definitely remember that time period. So I would invent my own job instead of relying on somebody else. I had watched a lot of people get laid off who had been in industry for a long time, and it did not look fun. It did not look like something that I wanted to do. And so I woke up one day with more motivation than I usually had, and I started my design firm, which is a fancy way of saying that I sent out 500 emails, without exaggeration, to companies that made cool stuff. And I said, please, 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 please. Please work with me. I can draw. I can't dance. What do you need done? I'll do it. And so 90% of them, unsurprisingly, never bothered to get back to me. And of the remaining 10%, 5 of those were like, no, thank you. But those remaining 5%, they said, oh, well, actually, it just so happens that we're working on blank. Would you send us like a quote to do this? And I'm like, cool. I got to go figure out how to write a quote. Don't know how to do that. I haven't done it yet. So this is kind of a quick intro into the world that I work in as an example of one of the different paths you can take with the degree that you've got and then further degrees that you might pursue. So this may be more benefit for the parents in the room who aren't involved in a creative field, but this is a little bit about how an artist, an engineer, and a psychologist all kind of blend into this one very colorful middle space where when you blend artist and engineer, I think you get style. Okay, when you blend artist and psychologist, you get preference. And then when you blend engineer and psychologist, you get usability. So somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's the designer. And as we all know, the icon to represent the designer are the cool glasses, which I don't need yet, but one day they're coming. So my company, what we do is we help build brands. So whether it's the product that we're putting out into the world for people, or whether it's the way that we talk about it, the brochure that comes with it, the trade show booth that we build for them to get the word out, we have 2 teams that do this work, our industrial design group and our graphics and branding team. So these 2 teams have their own customers, and they work together on everything from big Fortune 50 sized brands all the way to venture-backed tech companies and RTP, down to mom-and-pop inventor with a napkin sketch of an invention with spaghetti stains from last night's dinner on it, or a patent that they filed, or something that they're really passionate about. So the reason that we work in all these different areas, like I said, everything from dental tools to body armor to vehicles, all sorts of stuff, is because working on all these different fields makes us better at any one given thing. It's all this knowledge that carries over. So we follow this design process that you all have been following for the last 4 years, starting off with research into who we're designing for. So that may be their style preferences, the size and shape of their body, what part of the country they live in, what they want out of this thing. So we get to take things apart at work, figure out how they work, run them through the bandsaw, see how they're built. We do interviews with people like nurses who work in a hospital, and they say, you know, this is a $2 million piece of equipment that I work with every day, and it's amazing. But I duct taped a cup to the side of it to hold my pencils because I have to take notes while I use it, and the manufacturer didn't think about that. And so we're studying what's called usability in that way, and we're taking data that we find and we're grouping it into chunks of information about what this market's telling us. So instead of just saying, we designed it, it's beautiful, we love it, you should too, good luck. We're doing this based on hard data. So instead of just being artists, we're being designers. That's the difference. So we move into what we call ideation, and everybody that works there can draw their brains out. And it's not just because it's fun and because I love to do it. It's because we work together on a daily basis, figuring things out together and showing our customer what we're thinking about what this should look like instead of just talking about it, how it's worn, how it's held. Is it going to be easy to clean in an operating room environment? Is it really, really cool and more fun than last year's product or more fun than your competitors? So this initial ideation, all these sketches, they end up making their way into more detailed digital renderings where we get to play with some really fun toys, draw on screen, all that sort of stuff, where we simulate all sorts of different lighting and conditions. Here's what your product looks like in its packaging on the store shelf, a really realistic vision of the future of this thing before we've ever built anything. So we'll take that plan and we'll move into digital modeling. And this is where psychology and research ends, artist in ideation ends, and engineer in detailed design begins, figuring out how to make these things work and do their job, and then sometimes hide all of that because a lot of times people don't care. They just want it to work well, be safe, be fun, whatever the requirement is. Work when I try to breathe from it underwater. So we use sketches and storyboards and all sorts of different images to help people understand how things work, what's going to be, what you're going to have to do when I approach this for the first time with no instructions. So we're looking at every little parting line and material finish, how this thing is branded and labeled, and then we animate all the stuff as well. Hopefully that works. To help our client understand how this thing goes together. They show it to investors to seek out money. We do cutaway views and section views. We create magazine advertisements, all of this without building anything, which is really interesting to me because when I started school, that wasn't possible. And by the time I finished, it was. So I got to see this really cool wave of technology come through. Our graphics team is doing the same thing for logo development, print material and brochures. They're going from quick concept sketches into digital vector graphics that define what a brand is going to be forever. Things that we got to see on like the evening news when we went home, which was really cool. Infographics, we've branded restaurants, we've made their menus, we've done business cards. So the amount of things that you can do in this field, even if it's making your wine fridge more fun to change the temperature, these are the things that design touches in our world. And the whole idea is that if it works well, I don't really have to think about it. I love working with it. I love using it. I love opening the box. And any of you save your like iPhone packaging? Sometimes it's just like too good to throw. It's like so beautiful. I can't throw it away. It feels wrong. So we're working on a lot of that stuff as well. And eventually we'll get into, okay, it's time to build it. We've designed it. We've got a great plan. And now let's make it. So anybody seen that show Mythbusters? Our shop looks a lot like that one. We've got bins of springs and foam heads and garden hose and some of the most random stuff you could possibly imagine. We have more hardware than a hardware store has, so we're doing rough prototype mock-ups, quick foam models that give me something to like walk around with in my pocket all day and see if it's the right size, trade show prototypes, and all kinds of different types of builds, getting to use tools that I could only dream of back when I was working on my car in the garage in high school. Doing all kinds of casting and mold making. We got to build a one-man stand-up golf cart and ride it around our back lot, which was a blast. So we do all kinds of robotic machining, some really high-tech stuff, 3D printing, which you all probably know even more about than I do nowadays. We prototype the object, the experience with the object, the restaurant that you walk into. So my point with all this stuff is, including some really fun field trip days doing testing on some of what we've designed, is that you can take this in just about any direction you want to go, and every once in a while you'll get to do some project that doesn't actually have to work. Movie props for Hollywood, concept weapon work for video game companies. So the variety is there. You've got to go grab it. And if a designer does their job right, all of a sudden they're the one in the room changing the business decision instead of the MBA, which I think is about as cool as it gets. So this job is about pure creativity, which is really what I was setting out to do. Unfortunately, we've been very blessed and very lucky and had a lot of really great help to make this work. And being a starving artist was never part of it. So parents, keep that in mind. I'll touch on that again in a minute. But if it's taught me anything, it's that it's way better to invent your job than to just go find one off the shelf. And it doesn't mean that you have to start your own business, but it does mean that even if you get a job within a larger company, here's what they told you you've got to do. Here's your job description. But what they don't tell you is that, hey, if you suggest a better way, we're going to listen. How could we not listen? That's a better way. And so by definition, this becomes something that you have designed your own path through this place, this organization, or your own business, whatever it might be. So you've got to be entrepreneurial, and even if you aren't starting a business, be entrepreneurial. So Arthur Fry, this guy used to sing in his church choir, got frustrated that his bookmark kept falling out. So he used to work at Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, where his coworker failed at developing this really sticky glue. And he said, hey man, can I borrow that? I'm gonna stick it to some paper and accidentally invent a Post-it note. And this is not an assignment that came from somebody telling him to do his job. This is like him getting angry, right? So he comes into work with this new attitude, like, there's something here. Like, I've got to figure something out. This guy he made $1 zillion, still works at 3M. So you don't have to start a business to think this way. You just need to treat your career this way. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard this term, but I call it wantrepreneur. And these are people who, this is the opposite of an entrepreneur. And I've known a lot of these types of people. So this is somebody who spends way more time talking about their business that they're going to build, the logo that they're going to design, all of this stuff, instead of actually going out and starting it. So I just need the perfect logo. I need the perfect mentor, investor, idea. And so all of this stuff, the perfect opportunity, becomes one big excuse to not do this. And it's really a shame because these are smart people who aren't taking that first step. And I've had plenty of friends and loved ones that have given me good advice. But Mike, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail in the first year. So I did some looking into this, and I found this to actually be completely untrue. And I was really interested to find the real data here. So just goes to show you, don't believe everything that you hear. The truth is, so this is actual 2-year data for businesses with employees. This is from SBA.gov, so we'll call it credible. How about that? 65% of these things are successful and profitable, and 35% of them fail after 2 years. So here's actual 5-year data where 49% of these have been successful, 51% have failed. Okay, maybe that's most, but that's a 50-50 shot. And to me, I've done way dumber things with way worse odds than that. And that seemed like something that I was ready to take on. So, and if it meant never having to find a real job, that was a risk that I was definitely willing to take. So here's a really boring chart for you. And it's maybe the last one that you'll ever look at in high school. So there you go. This is the plot of which businesses survive based on when they were founded. And so if you're really confused by this confusing, boring-looking chart, that's okay, because your testing is over. I've made a cheat sheet for you. This means that survival rates improve for a business as it ages. In other words, the longer the business is around, the higher the probability that it will continue to be around. So I'm really, really proud to say we just hit our 10th year this year, which makes me feel good because we've made way past that 5-year mark, doubled it, in fact. So here's what else this means. It means that making it by faking it is totally and completely a real thing. The longer you can hang around, the higher the probability that you'll keep hanging around. That's a beautiful thing, and I personally know this to be true. So the other thing that boring chart showed is that survival trends haven't changed much over the years. And the really interesting thing to me about that is back in 2007, when I started my business, in a time when that was not something a lot of people were doing, this didn't deviate even then. So we found a lot of people who would complain no matter what, complain about the economy, find a reason to not do this. So I will say motivation wins, and so do simple good ideas. So you can do this. I believe in you. Your teachers believe in you. But Mike, I don't know how. I'm flat broke. How am I going to do that? So Ian Fleming, one of my favorite authors, I don't know if any of you know who that is, but he wrote all the James Bond books. He says, the aptitudes come, the tools forge themselves. So there's a lot of really famous businesses that have started out of garages. One of them we already heard about. This is Steve Jobs' garage at his parents' house as an Apple computer and where it began. So we had a really similar beginning, and I'm not comparing apples to apples, no pun intended. I am crossing my fingers for a similar result in the end, but I'm not holding my breath. This is me in 2007 in the laundry room of my one-bedroom apartment, where the pipes behind the wall for the washer and dryer go, that I screwed all these things to the wall to hold all my tools went, and used my stud finder to make sure I didn't lose my security deposit. So I've got a series of suggestions for your career, for what comes next for all of you. And I mean your college career, your work career, whatever. And step one is you can dream big but act small. And what I mean by that is, early on, we knew what we were doing. I bought my tables for $1 each from NC State surplus, because that's about what I could afford. And this is where my inspirational speech begins, because we didn't care at all. We didn't know anything other than recession. And there was no excuse to not do this. And so we were also not fooled by our own ambition. We wanted to be great, but the truth is we were on my living room carpet working on this stuff. And I paid these guys hourly, probably like $5 or something at the point. But everything that we spent, we reinvested back into anything that we didn't have. Hammers, wrenches, hand tools, this wacky 3-axis machine that I built while I was in college. And while you're in school, my point is, it's easier to do that because I'd estimate the risk back then when rent was low. I had time and I didn't have a family, I didn't have a mortgage payment or anything. The risk was about 2% of what it would be to go back and try to do this now. And it worked. This is our celebratory beer after the machine that we built actually worked and spit out its first part. And it looks like a legit setup, but it's not, because I have a pile of laundry that I very purposely cropped out of the picture here. So, which brings me to my second point, which is, so we said dream big, act small, and then there's a time where you've got to dream big and act big. So instead of thinking about the reality of your situation, there comes a time to think about where you're going to go from here. So we rented a 10 by 10 room in an engineering firm. And if you can't tell, that's what a 10 by 10 room in an engineering firm looks like. It was not a place we wanted to be. So we went in and we painted the walls and we hung up all kinds of stuff. And we very carefully cropped all of our marketing pictures to make it look like it was much bigger. The right things are out of focus. Just to give you an idea of how small this was, that's it. That's the whole thing. So we brought our A game, though, to everything that we did, everything our customers saw. And this was like ramen noodle time. I spent all my money on the cinder blocks to hold down our tent. So what's important about this time, though, and just kind of coming back here, what you can see, I would say cherish your friends. And the reason that this is important to me is I was wholly dependent on the help of these people around me. Even though I knew how to do their job, there was too much work to do. And these people were saving my butt every single day and making sure that we didn't have to say no and making sure that this thing I was trying to build worked. So I'll tell you a quick side story about that. One day at lunch, I go into our refrigerator in the back, and I'm just going to grab whatever it was that I brought, and I see this little piece of a cake. This is the cake here. I took a picture of it. And I said, this cake has our logo on it. What is going on? Where did this come from? I'd never heard anything about it. And one of my employees, the first one that I had ever hired, he said, "Oh, my parents threw me a graduation party last night. They made a cake for me." And I'm like, I was in tears over this. I could not believe it. And it was this reminder that when you hire somebody, when you're building something like that, you take on the responsibility of taking care of that person. And now more than ever, we feel that weight where we've got, working individuals who have a stay-at-home significant other and a family to take care of. So that's not to be taken lightly. So that brings me to step 4, which is don't be a jerk. You've got to treat people well. You all are going to stay in touch with each other for a long time. And believe it or not, even if you don't keep in touch in college, and even if you don't keep in touch for a decade after that, you're going to get in touch with each other because you're going to say, oh, I heard on LinkedIn, or I saw on the news that this, somebody I used to know, oh my gosh, I can't believe what they're up to. Let me try to shoot them an email. Maybe they'll invite me fishing on their yacht or something. So especially the people you don't have to treat well, those are the ones that you really go out of your way to treat well. It's a piece of cake. So these are the people that I depend on every day. And the funny thing about this is there's me in the middle, and let's see, on my right, your left, that's my younger sister, who's the head of our graphic department. And she and I used to fight like you wouldn't believe when we were younger. And fortunately, we stuck together well enough to where we don't fight at all anymore. In fact, we have a blast, and we get to work together every day. And the guy on my left, your right, that was one of my classmates my freshman year that I met as soon as I went to NC State. And we stayed in touch, and he is the head of our industrial design program now. And I depend on those people, and I never knew that I would. So a really important benchmark and another recommendation that I've got is to document these successes. So whether it's an event or whatever, these are the things that you're going to want to remember. So I remember we got our first product out the door. The first time that I saw one out in the wild, we designed a scuba diving regulator. And I was on a plane on the way to a meeting, and I flipped the page of this magazine, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. I can't believe it. We even made the ad. We didn't know that they had run it or anything. And I was looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the world's best-selling scuba diving regulator. It was the most monumental thing, and I still have this framed on my wall in my office. So this is one of those times where you don't want your achievement to get in the way of what comes next. And so my next step, my next recommendation is to reinvest and feed this machine, whether it's taking time to do professional development in your career, staying up late in college to learn the thing you know you didn't get from class, going back to grad school because you want to do something greater. So the investment bankers in the room might disagree, but the stock market's not a sure thing. You're better off betting on yourself. Take it from me. I did this in a time when stocks were not something anybody was touching. So we took this money and we invested back in our own office for the first time. We rented our own space where it didn't have somebody else's name on the front door. So again, here's us, looking like dorks, moving all this equipment into our shop, working on stuff with ski goggles on, and this place started to fill in and started to become something. I knew we had started to hit on something right when we didn't have to crop our marketing pictures anymore. All of a sudden, it didn't really matter which way you took a picture. That really felt good. And so my step 7 is to reinvest even harder, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Here's what happened. So we wanted more money because we were out in the work world, which meant we needed to go find more work, which means we needed a bigger team, which means we need a bigger space, which means we need more money, right? And this is business. That's how business works. And this cycle rolls on, and ideally the snowball you start gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you've got something that you can retire from, you can sell, whatever. So we were able to convert this little closet into a building that we bought eventually into something that runs like this. I still can't believe when I walk in the back, this place is like a machine of its own. We even have a receptionist. I can't believe it. So we followed this crazy timeline of growth in a time when this was something I was being told left and right was a dumb thing to do. And so I didn't know what path we're on, but creatively, I knew that we would not stay still because that's not an entrepreneurial thing to do. That's not the type of design thinking that I was taught, and it's not very creative. So each generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that came before it, and wiser than the one that comes after it, says George Orwell. So basically what this means is that every generation thinks the one after it is doomed. So parents, you probably have a 30% chance of understanding what your kids are going to do for a living. So they're going to have titles like brand evangelist and social media marketing manager and resident futurist and chief creative officer. So even though this might sound ridiculous to you, I'll tell you what sounded ridiculous to me, and I remember when all this came about. Who on earth starts a company based on the idea of forcing people to say what they want to say in 140 characters? And more so, who decides, I'm going to go work there, go spend my career there? So I'll tell you exactly who. So 3,800 employees, 35 offices with 1 billion views a month, and a $26 billion IPO out of this crazy creative, off-the-wall idea as evidence that you never quite know. And graduates, you're what's called a digital native. And what that means is you never didn't know about computers, the internet, YouTube, right? When I was a little bit younger than you, we got our first computer. And I remember getting the America Online disc in the mail. We were the first people to have it. And it was a big deal. I remember to give you an idea of the climate, I used to physically print out every email I received as if it was like real mail, because this was so new, nobody knew what to do with this. It's like, well, I don't want to lose it. If I accidentally hit a button, it's gone. I mean, so I'll print it out, keep it in a file, I guess, I don't know. So it has never in the history of the world been easier to learn how to do something yourself than it is right now, right this minute, and it's changing as I speak. If you want to build a house entirely on your own from scratch, that's a Google search away, which is the most amazing. I mean, what a time to be alive, right? YouTube was 0 years old when I was in high school. And if you're not sure if you're a digital native, if you've helped somebody older than you realize that the internet is not a place you drive to check your mail, then you are a digital native. So now, your learning is up to you. It's all up to you. High school is over. Your learning is in your hands. So college is tough, and take it from me that the work world is harder. So no matter what your future plans are, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves a bit. So one of my favorite people in the world, he says, we have a lot of very smart people standing by waiting for somebody else to do the work. We've collectively agreed, stupidly, that work is the enemy. And basically that means we've done everything we can to make things easier. So that's Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. I don't know if any of you have seen that show, but I love that show. So the leaders in our world are very rarely the valedictorian, although after hearing some of the speeches, I'm not so sure that those are very, very good. Although that's sometimes true, these leaders are often self-made, roll-up-the-sleeves type people, and if you don't recognize what's going on in this picture, then I am assigning you all your last homework assignment. Go take apart your toaster, okay? Not all of your knowledge comes from college. You're not owed your job. Over 100 people come to Wake County every day and don't leave. There are a lot of people gunning for that position. You're not owed your raise. Sadly, you're not owed your Lamborghini or your opportunity. So opportunity often knocks wearing overalls, not a suit and tie. An inbox with 300 messages to sift through every day, that's a good opportunity. A phone that rings off the hook constantly, as annoying as it might be, that's a really great opportunity. Helping somebody jumpstart their dead car battery, that might be a really good opportunity too. Waiting the right table for the right person at the right time. There's all kinds of stories that come out of that hard work type scenario and how people act when they're down. So at work we say, you don't teach a man to build a boat. Instead, you give him a longing for the ocean, right? In other words, they'll figure it out. He or she will figure out how to make this happen because they want to, not because they were told they should. So when we hire creatives, we talk a lot about the end goal, not today's task list. We have another term for that. We call it cowboy logic. And I had an employee that came through who coined that term for me. And he said, cowboy logic is when you're stuck in the field and your horse is too tired or your tractor's broken down and the storm's coming in and there's just nobody to help you. You just got to figure it out. You've got to be creative. You've got to figure it out. Use the tools that are around you. So one of my points, too, is if you don't want to be replaced in our world by a robot, then don't act like one. We're very, very creative people. Companies are groups of people with a common interest, and when they aren't, they fail. So don't act like a robot because you don't think like one. So bring your personality to work. All of you have a really, really unique view on what the world can be, what design can be, and I hope for your sake that nobody gives you a list of things you need to do every day. They expect for you to think it up yourself. So along those same lines, it's okay to fail early. And now is a really good time to do that, as you might go off to college or be really early in your career and also fail forward. And as proof of what I mean by that, and I don't know if any of you will recognize these, but these are prototypes that James Dyson built to build his first vacuum cleaner. And in case you'd care to guess, it's not 5 prototypes that he built. It's not 51. It's not 512. It's 5,127 prototypes that it took to get that right, that he's got in his museum, which is a really good example of not giving up. So if it doesn't work at first, try something else, because you may find out that you actually love that better. So take this chance on doing what you love now, because now is the best time you're ever going to have. You're young, younger than you realize. I thought I was young until I went back to NC State to go teach. That made me feel much, much older than I thought I was. So you want to try as many things as you can as early as possible. Figure out what you love to do and who you love to be around, and grab it. So one of my last points here is never let anybody make you feel too young. There's a lot of people, Henry Ford, for example, learned machinery and was his town's watchmaker when he was 15. Zuckerberg wrote code when he was 12. So you're not young, you're behind. Come on, get on it. So the world is a little bit more malleable than you think it is. So another quote that I love is, choose your corner, pick away at it carefully, intensely, and to the best of your ability, and through that you may change the world. That's from Charles Eames, one of the most famous furniture designers. But also really importantly, who do you have to thank? So they say that no man is an island. There's a 0% chance that you've made it where you are today without somebody else's help. And I've already said to cherish your friends, so you can add to that list your family, your classmates, your mentors, your coaches, and you have some good ones, believe me. I wish I were as lucky. And I better not neglect to mention your teachers. So here's mine on the left. That's the one that slapped that book on my desk. And then there's my parents on the right. So thanks, Mom and Dad. And I wore a jacket today. So your future is up to you. There's a lot of people in this room counting on you to do something great with that future. And the world needs creativity now more than it ever has. We're getting too good at building robots to ever act like them. So our future might be up to you. My 9-month-old son's future might be up to you. How did that get in there? So what I'm asking for the class of 2017 is to go out and dream something big, but even more importantly than that, I want you to go do something big. All right, congratulations.
Graduates, please stand. We're going to start tonight by recognizing our Digital Media Academy graduates. As I call your name, please come across the stage and receive your certificate. Sarah Abishakra. Reagan Blaylock. Sean Brown. Jacob Bullock. Daniel Ingman. Nicole Ferrari. Bailey Hall. Ernesto Herrera Benitez. Brooklyn Longest. Emma Milligan. Alex Wynn. Edwin Quay. Caroline Suborn. Alyssa Smith. Eliza Telkamp. Peyton Williams. And Michael Zamochin. At this time, we're going to recognize our Engineering Academy graduates. Rhett Acosta. Austin Alford. Jason Brewster. Matthew Cleveland. Andrew Coleman. Brenna Harrison. Melanie Krug. Mac Makel. Nicholas Marlier. Jared Medwar. Nicholas Rice. Samuel Rigsby. Henry Zacharias. Matthew Zahn. And Braden Ziegler. And now we're going to recognize two graduates who graduated both with Engineering Academy and the Digital Media Academy. James Eric Todd. And Nicholas Salsas. Please join me in giving our graduates a round of applause.
Before we close this evening, we have a couple of more thanks and recognition that we'd like to take care of. This is the first year we've had the opportunity to present a member of the Digital Media Academy with a scholarship. And so many different opportunities of the greatness that we witnessed through so many of you. So very similar to what Ms. Smith said earlier in that recognition, this could have been any single one of you. But one person who stood out among this was your Digital Media Academy speaker tonight. And so we would like to award Ms. Caroline Suborn with the very first ever inaugural Digital Media Academy Scholarship. Congratulations. I'd also like to take a few moments to wish upon some best wishes to all of you, some individuals that were not able to be with us this evening. First is our principal, Mr. Martin, had to have a medical procedure today, so that's why he was not able to be with us. But he did want to remind all of you guys that you are all leading Galloping Mustangs, and that he is very proud of all of your accomplishments throughout your years, and that you guys in both of the academies are something that makes Middle Creek the very special place that it is. So he did pass along his congratulations to you all. Two other individuals that are not with us this evening, Miss Trevino McGee is on bed rest right now as she expecting her very first child, due to have a little girl any day now. But I know that she has been very impactful in you guys' lives as you guys have in hers. So she also wanted to wish you the best. One other one, Mr. Silva, our English teacher in our Digital Media Academy for our sophomores and juniors. Her daughter has been very ill, so she is at home with her daughter this evening. And she sent me a text almost in tears in the fact that she couldn't be here tonight, but said to let you know how very proud she is of each and every one of you and for allowing her to be part of your journey as you have all grown and matured into the outstanding, amazing young men and women that you have become. And she wishes you all the best. So from them, we would like to thank you as well. From myself and the other members up here, we recognize many, many times the people up here. Mr. Ginsberg is also up here as well as part of our STEM coordinator. Everyone up here that you have heard all of these students talk about or recognize has been a part of what I will consider the same as well, our family here at Middle Creek. So please thank all of you. I'd like to leave you guys with one quick story before we get out of here that I think kind of envelops and wraps up all the other things that we've talked about here in terms of what the next step is, so to speak. We all study or know about the genius of Albert Einstein. At some point in time, everybody knows who he is. But I think something that relates very well to us is this story I heard the other day. So Dr. Einstein was on a train one day. He got on the train, he took his seat, he sat down, and at that moment, he had one of those aha moments when all the ideas just started clicking and coming to him. And he started jotting down notes and ideas, and all the things were just kind of coming to him repeatedly in a very fast pattern. The conductor comes along to punch the tickets of everybody that's riding the train. He gets to Albert Einstein and says, "Sir, may I have your ticket, please?" He doesn't hear him. He's in the zone. He's focused. He's into what he's doing. He says one more time, "Sir, can I see your ticket, please?" Still continue. Einstein's writing repeatedly. All these great, phenomenal things were coming to his mind. One last time, the gentleman says, "Sir, can I please see your ticket?" And all of a sudden, he pops up, and he looks, and he reaches for his pocket, and he can't find his ticket. And he's looking in his jacket, his pants, and the conductor recognizes who he is. He said, "Dr. Einstein, it's okay. I know who you are." It's like, "I'm sure you bought a ticket. It's okay." And he goes on down the line. The conductor continues going down the aisleway, punching the tickets of the other passengers that have bought a ticket to ride the train. And he looks back and he glances out the corner of his eye, and he sees this brilliant man down on all fours, looking frantically for his ticket. And he's looking around, crawling around, looking around, crawling around, trying to find his ticket. So the conductor goes back there and he helps him up. He says, "Please, sir, please get up." He's like, "I know who you are. It's okay. It's okay, Dr. Einstein. I know who you are." And Dr. Einstein looks at him now. He says, "Well, I know who I am too. I just don't know where I'm going." And in that moment, I think relates to where you guys will be at some point in time. There will be a time where you do not know where you are going. You will face defeat. You will face setback. You will have problems that occur in both your professional and your personal life. And in those darkest times is where you have to remember the greatness that you guys possess. We have seen many wonderful things that you guys have accomplished in terms of your classes, your athletics, your extracurriculars. Those of you guys that have done Skills USA do stuff far beyond the abilities that we have because of the things that we have taught you and the things that you have taken and gone beyond what we have taught you. Okay? Those of you that had the opportunity to do sports block and get that hands-on experience in those things. Those of you who've done robotics club and so many other great things that you've been involved in. As you guys hear as they clank across the stage, how well garnered they are in their achievements. You guys have greatness within you. Don't ever forget that. And in your darkest moments, that's where you got to remember where home is, where we are, where your family is, and who you truly are. By never giving up and never accepting defeat. Life is a competition in everything you do. And when the setbacks come, and they will, and those dark moments come, that's when you have to remember, where are you going? And the opportunities that you haven't even touched on yet. Like Mr. Lout said, the job you have may not even exist yet that will determine who you are. Find that passion and leave that legacy. The legacy, like we know of Dr. Einstein, can be your greatest legacy, so we read about you one day. Go out and use your passions to don't make wishes, okay? But set big dreams and chase down those dreams by setting goals with an unbelievable work ethic of determination and never giving up attitude, and you will always remember where you are going. Graduates, I wish you all the best. I thank you for allowing me and for allowing us to be a part of your journey known as high school. We all know you will go on and do a great and many things from here, and I wish you and congratulate you for everything. Thank you very much. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially about that time. If our graduates would please rise, if our members of parents and family and friends would please rise as we prepare to recess. Let's give them one more round of applause as they leave, please.